Hello, this is Anlineoffline. Welcome back to another casual's quick guide to Call of Duty Mobile. For today's video, we'll be covering the Groza. Introduced at the end of 2023, the Groza is an automatic bullpup rifle from Black Ops Cold War, and is based on the real Russian rifle of the same name. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, crime and domestic terrorism was on the rise. Thus, there was a demand for subsonic rifles in close-quarters urban combat, like the AS-Val and Venturas. Skip SOA rechambered an AKS-74U for 9x39 as the TIS rifle. The designers at Tula were no strangers to bullpups, and converted it into such with modularity in mind. Russian for thunder or storm, the OTs-14 Groza was originally intended to be a multi-caliber platform in 7.62x39, 9x39, 5.45, and 5.56, but the last two were scrapped. It was adopted, but only saw limited use in Chechnya as it had several issues. It was expensive, not ergonomic, and switching between the rifle and underbarrel launcher was inconvenient. By comparison, the Val and Venturas were more reliable, and from there inspired derivatives. And there were more modern conventional designs. But back to Call of Duty. Base damage per shot is moderate, killing in 4 shots up close and dropping to 5 and 6 at mid to long range. If it were hit scan, it would have had an infinite effective range in multiplayer, but a bullet speed of 900 meters per second will suffice. The fire rate is fairly fast at 750 rounds per minute. This gives you a fairly average time to kill up close, but its base effective range is limited to 22 meters. Headshots are 30% extra damage, the chest is 20% extra, and biceps are 10% extra. You can achieve a 4-shot potential in its second range, but beyond that, these body multipliers won't help much. Moving on to barrel attachments. The most interesting would be Mil-Spec, which provides faster strafing, ADS, and most importantly 6% more damage. With this, it's just enough to extend its 4-shot consistency into its second range, without needing body multipliers. It'll still kill in 6 shots in its final range, but now a single headshot can give you a 5-shot potential. This does come at the cost of 5% less range, which is about 1 or 2 meters, and you won't be able to range boost with other attachments. It also takes away 60 rounds of reserve ammo. As for more conventional barrels, Gru provides 25% more range and faster bullet speed, with no drawbacks. The reinforced barrel takes it further to 40%, but cripples your mobility. Speaking of which, in terms of mobility, the Groza is tied with the Type 25 for the second fastest movement speeds in its class, as the AS-Val was made faster a while back. But with mobility attachments, the Groza can match a similarly built QQ9 and KRM when sprinting. Alternatively, the Groza can also match the RUS for the 5th fastest strafing speed in the game. It also ties with the Type 25 for the fastest base ADS in its class, but with SMG level sprint out time. The swap times are fast and comparable to SMGs. The base mag size is the standard 30 and can be extended to 40 and 50 with drums and fast mags. As for accuracy, the Groza has average bloom. Not as solid as most ARs, but not as bad as most SMGs. The iron sights are fine in my opinion. The recoil is difficult, as it's mostly horizontal, but it helps to strafe side to side. So, what are my thoughts on the Groza? It's niche with limited applications. It's more of an SMG, high mobility and high capacity, but its range is limited. Compared to its fellow ARs, the Groza has the shortest base effective range. If it were hit scan with infinite effective range, it would have been kept in check by its more difficult recoil. Since you'll be confined to close to mid-range, Mil-Spec is probably the best barrel, but again, this does limit your ability to increase range, and go on longer streaks without vulture or ammo boxes as it does with the Bruin. How does it compare to its peers? although they may share similar fire rate and may stray fast in their own right. It's not fair to compare the Groza to the Task Force Peacekeeper, or GROW, as those are more flexible. A more fair comparison would be with the BOCW. They have the same fire rate, but the differences in range values and bullet speed causes them to flip-flop closely in time to kill. The BOCW could potentially achieve an infinite 6-shot kill with body multipliers, has easier recoil, and more range attachments. The Groza has more close range potential with Mil-Spec, more attachment variety, reloads faster, and has the potential to move faster. It could go either way, but I think the BOCW is just easier to use. Much of what was previously said also applies to the RUS. They share the same max strafing speed and are very close in max sprinting speed. The RUS does have a faster fire rate, but not enough so to kill noticeably faster, but noticeable enough to reload more often, which is slower. And lastly, we have the 9mm ATR. Personally, I prefer the 5.56 conversion as the slower fire rate is easier to control. Compared to the RUS and BOCW, the AGR is not significantly faster than the Groza in base, and its only advantage is its AR level bloom. From what I've seen, public perception is mixed on this gun, and could use a couple buffs. Nothing crazy to make it overpowered though. The most frequent complaint is its recoil. Our pattern is a little more difficult than in Black Ops Cold War. It would help if the initial recoil was softer to reward burst firing. Next, if the whole arms did the same damage as the biceps, that would help with its 4-shot potential and reduce the necessity of running the Mil-Spec barrel. And last but not least, a modest range buff wouldn't hurt. But hey, that's just my opinion. This has been a Casual's quick guide. Feel free to suggest what weapons you want to see covered next. My name is On, and I'm off.